Chapter 6. Home Again. 263 Pitt Street. The next morning, I rang Auntie Marge. "Can I stay at your house for 2 or 3 days?" I said.
Of course you can, Chrissy. When are you coming?
I wanted to leave Sonia's house quickly before I kissed her by accident. Of course, I didn't tell Marge that. I said, "Can I come now?" What could I say to Sonia? In the end, I said, "Goodbye, Sonia. I'm going to stay with my Auntie Marge." Sonia began crying and she hugged me at the front door.
"Please stay,"
she said.
"I love you."
"What? What did you say?" I asked her quickly.
"Nothing. You must go. Your auntie's waiting for you."
The two of us cried then. I looked down and walked away. I didn't look back. I didn't want Sonia to see me crying. I didn't want to go to Marge's with red eyes, so I went to a cafe on the beach. I sat and thought, am I doing the right thing? Then I had a coffee and I felt better. Auntie Marge was very happy to see me. She was in the front garden when I arrived. I put my bags in my room and we had a Coke. I didn't like Marge's house. It was an old woman's house. There were dolls everywhere. She collected clocks too. They were in every room of the house. I didn't like that. We talked all afternoon. We looked at photos of my brother and me from when we were children. She told me about her life when she was young.
I was a crazy hippie then,
she said.
Look at this.
She gave me an old photo. She was in long pants with flowers on them. She was on the beach with friends, and she had something in her hand. It was a big cigarette, I think. This was a very different Auntie Marge for me. Marge made me dinner, and to finish, we ate some of her apple cake. It's famous in our family, and it was great. I slept very well in my bed at Auntie Marge's house that night. The next day after uni, I went to the uni pub with Fabio, and he talked about his holidays.
I went on a surfing holiday for 10 days, and I had a great time,
he said.
I met people from lots of different countries. I fell in love with Mika, a girl from Japan. She lives in Brisbane, so I want to move there.
Then I told Fabio about Sonia and her boyfriend Garth. Fabio said,
"You did the right thing."
That night I got home late. Auntie Marge was in bed. I was very quiet, but she heard me and came out of her room. Is she going to be angry? I thought, but she wasn't. She said,
Hi, Chrissy. Your dinner's on the table.
I like staying here, I thought. Marge, I said,
Yes, Chrissy.
can my friends visit here sometimes?
Of course.
She said.
But you must do the cleaning sometimes too.
Can I drink beer?
Are you going to give me some too? I love it.
She laughed. Perhaps living with Marge is the best thing to do, I thought. Perhaps Auntie Marge is going to be the best housemate for me. She didn't steal, I knew that. She cleaned, but not all the time. And my friends could visit me when they wanted. We could drink beer and eat meat here too. There weren't any lizards, and Auntie Marge liked watching the cricket on TV, so I could watch it with her. I couldn't forget about the dolls, the clocks, and her calling me Chrissy all the time, but I could live with those small things. Can I stay here for a long time? I asked.
Of course,
She said.
it can be difficult to find good housemates, I know.
Yes, very difficult. Did you live in a share house when you were younger? I asked.
Of course.
She said.
At first, I lived with your mum, but then she fell in love with your dad and moved in with him.
Did you live with Mum? What did you do?
I told you, we were crazy hippies. We were students at the time, but we didn't study much.
She gave me a photo to look at. And who did you live with after Mum? I asked.
I moved into a big share house with 6 people, but I only stayed there for 3 months because the building was very old. I couldn't have a shower or make dinner there.
She said. And what did you do when you left that house? I asked.
Then I fell in love with a young man.
Who? How did you meet him? I asked quickly. So Auntie Marge liked men when she was younger. I didn't know that. She always said bad things about them.
His name was Sam. He was from South Africa, and he was beautiful.
Were you housemates? I asked.
Yes, I moved in with Sam and his mate Beck, but soon after I moved in, Beck moved out to Canberra. She went there to be a school teacher. She met a nice boy in Canberra, and they had lots of children.
And what happened with Sam? Did you live with him for a long time?
Well, we lived in Sydney for 2 years, but he missed his family. He wanted to go back home.
She said. So he left?
Yes, but I wanted to be with him, so I went with him to Durban in South Africa. I loved his family. His sister and father and I watched the cricket every day.
Did you like South Africa? I asked.
I loved it, but I missed Sydney. I couldn't get work in Durban, and it was very far from here, and very expensive to come back home for holidays.
Did you come back to Australia alone? I asked.
Yes, I did. Did I do the right thing? I don't know. Sam wanted me to stay, but...
She began, and then she stopped. She didn't look very happy. Do you speak with Sam these days? I asked.
No. But after 25 years, I love him to this day,
she said, and she looked down. I was quiet. What could I say? In the end, Marge spoke.
Oh, I forgot. These are for you.
She gave me some flowers and a letter.
They arrived this afternoon.
For me? Who are they from?
I don't know, Chrissy. Read the letter.
I quickly went to my room and opened it. I began reading.
Hi, Chris. I'm very sorry I didn't tell you about Garth. I rang him when you left. I told him everything. I love Chris and I want to be with him, I said. Garth was very angry and I feel bad about it. But it's true. I love you. Please, call me. Love, Sonia.
I came out of my room,
Who's the letter from?
asked Auntie Marge. Oh, only one of my old housemates, I said.
Oh, I see.
Marge, I said. Sam's important to you. You must write to him in South Africa.
Perhaps you're right.
Auntie Marge said, and she smiled.